Andreas, we can start now.
Buonasera, guten Abend, good evening. My name is Andreas Züge and I'm the General Manager of the Italian branch of Deutsche Messe, here based in Milan. My team and I have been working very intensively and successfully with ITKAM for years on various projects, especially in the context of the Hannover Messe. So I'm very pleased to moderate today's ITKAM Talk. What is it about? On its 110th anniversary, ITKAM has developed a series of 45-minute digital events in cooperation with Feralpi Group. By that, the members of ITKAM get the opportunity to introduce themselves. Today, these are two member companies, Ayming and Feralpi Group. So let me talk a little bit from the trade fair view. So trade fairs are certainly an important driver of innovation, and as they bring together all the players in one place at one time. No other marketing instrument can do that. And the pandemic has given us as a sector ourselves, innovation boosts ourselves. And we are learning to implement this in the digital world as well, as we do today. So let's talk about innovation. I'd like to start with 3 quotes so that I can build on them and get after to the actual topic. The first is from Werner von Siemens at a time when there was no social media. So those who deliver the best ultimately stay on top. And I always prefer advertising through performance to advertising through words. Nowadays, advertising through words is an innovation that generates the new gold, digital consumer profiles. At least the quote shows that already more than 100 years ago, it was quite clear that the market position can only be maintained or expanded through innovation. At trade fairs, I see it time and again that innovative companies assert themselves to the market and thus secure a sustainable top position for themselves. Non-innovative companies disappear from the trade fair over time. Secondly, I would like to use a quote from Bernhard Braumann. He's CEO and Chief Sustainability Officer from the Bayer AG, a further food for thoughts for today's presentation. Decarbonization without innovation leads to deindustrialization. This makes clear that if we are to successfully meet the challenges of global warming, we need appropriate innovations. The non-existence of sufficient innovations would therefore be inevitably lead to a deindustrialization of Europe, certainly connected with lasting reduction or even loss of prosperity. For instance, the vision of the Feralpi Group, we'll later have a keynote, includes a zero impact perfection. The last 2 quotes are from renowned Italian-American economist Mariana Mazzucato. She's the professor at the University College London and founder of UCL Institute for Innovation and Public Purpose. Here's the first quote. History tells us that innovation is an outcome of a massive collective effort, not just from a narrow group of young white men in California. And if we want to solve the world's biggest problem, we better understand that. The first quote reminds me very much of the announcement of Industry 4.0 at the Hannover Messe in 2011. Industrial innovations, even revolutions, can only be successfully implemented if the various parts of society work together and in unison to achieve them. Industry 4.0 thus involves various sectors of society: companies, R&Ds, universities, politics, finance, and many others. It does need a massive collective effort. The second quote, government does and should have a big role in supporting innovation. This quote will certainly be the subject of controversial discussions. Some liberals may not agree with that. At our trade shows, I often see that politics can also be a catalyst for innovation. For example, the hosting of the Hannover Messe in 2010 as partner country Italy brought forth various innovative projects and have persisted and have been further developed to this day. And this on different levels, such as companies, research and development, economic clusters. The most important megatrends, such as digitalization, but also the trend of the so-said green economy, will only be possible if the government creates the necessary infrastructure. And of course, the society also needs an innovation-friendly climate. Finally, this also includes financial incentives, financial support options, and corresponding fiscal instruments. Which brings me to the topics of today, financing, innovation, challenges and opportunities for Germany and Italy. I think it's quite safe, and we could be selfish to say that Germany and Italy are the two countries where the industrial heart of Europe beats. Today, we will get an insight into how innovation is developed in both countries, Italy and Germany. Where are the countries' specific differences? What impact did the pandemic have on the innovation behavior of companies? What role do the different financing models play in innovation development? And what are the different financing options in the various countries? Which fiscal incentives does Italy offer? Which ones does Germany? Our speakers today are Massimo Nava, Sales and Marketing Director, Ayming Italy, and Robin Bohnes, Business Development Manager, Ayming Germany. Ayming is a global management consultancy with 30 years of experience. The company develops innovative solutions to optimize business performance. They are experts in funding, research grants, and international value-added tax compliance. 1,300 consultants and experts in 15 countries work for Ayming. Massimo has a long and successful experience in the ITKAM Group in China, working as International Sales Director and then managing the Turkish subsidiary. Robin, after completing his BA in Business Administration, gained extensive management experience in various companies. Both speakers will present us today their very appreciated study, International Business Barometer. This third report represents a continuation of Ayming's research and analysis in research and development over the past 2 years. 585 R&D executives have been surveyed. The focus today is on Germany and Italy. After I pass over to Laura Tolettini, she will present us the best practice. Laura is Digital Integration Manager at the Feralpi Group, one of the leading steel producers in Germany. Feralpi's vision is to be an international leader in the steel industry, anticipating standards of excellence through technical innovations, sustainability, and the development of talent. The company is expert in construction steels, special steels, and diverse products. Over 1,700 employees in 6 European countries are working for Feralpi Group. The Feralpi Group has been awarded recently with the Premio Mercurio for its commitment to innovation and sustainability in steel making. The prestigious award was presented by Italian Ambassador Armando Varicchio in Berlin over some weeks ago on October the 3rd, 2001. So my warmest congratulations for achieving that very, very well-known award. Laura has studied at various German and Italian universities. After her successful MBA, she's now industrial PhD candidate for economics and management. In parallel with her high school education, she's gained various practical work experience within the Feralpi Group. Now, up to the start, what is ITKAM Talk about? Every speaker will now present for 10 minutes each. Afterwards, the participants will have the opportunity to ask questions in a Q&A session. Please use, if you have any queries, if you have any questions, please use the chat room and put your questions in there. We will come after in order to respond. The part of Ayming is now moderated by Sophie Simon, a digital marketing specialist at Ayming. Sophie, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Andreas Züge. Hello, everyone. I would like to welcome you to our webinar with the Italian Chamber of Commerce. Today, we want to share and discuss some findings from Ayming's third International Innovation Barometer. This year's report tells a story of increasing complexity set against the backdrop of the global pandemic. Since the pandemic struck, businesses have faced previously unimaginable adversity. The drastic and rapid changes in social and economic behaviors have forced business models to adjust in terms of how companies operate and how they sell. In the IAB, we want to have a close look at the state of the R&D. The findings show that innovation continues to be crucial for companies' growth. However, COVID-19 represents a natural pivot point, one that could see budgets reduced by how it could just as easily provide a catalyst for innovation. I would like now to start analyzing one of the first questions we make for our respondents. Do you carry out your innovation locally, internationally, or both? I see from the graph that the answers in Italy and Germany are quite different. Massimo, why do you think Italian R&D activities are mainly carried out both locally and internationally?
Thank you, Sophie. Hi, everyone. Well, as for the chart, combining local with international innovation remains the most popular option for the companies populating the Italian market. Beside this percentage, I mainly read a good trend actually referred to the open innovation. Our companies are starting to develop this mindset of finding new talents and collaboration abroad, either with universities, research center, or other companies, in order to keep the pace in their with their direct competitors and becoming, finally, I would say, market leader also at the European level, not only the national one. Another point of attention is related to the multinational companies, which tend to develop R&D activities in their international headquarters more than locally in each subsidiary. There is also 42% of Italian companies that are carrying out the R&D projects only locally. And this percentage actually mainly refers to SMEs that represent 90% of our companies. Additionally, we should think that the pandemic mitigation measures have made travel more difficult and logistics even more challenging. So it's not surprising for me that firms have looked closer to home for their innovation sites. But there is also another reason behind it that I can see. And for me, it's like the urge to buy local that is still very strong. And the reasons for local innovation are largely due with language, culture, and customer expectation. And of course, for Italy, these are key factors to, let's say, the decision of keeping R&D investment located within the country.
Thank you, Massimo. Robin, what about Germany?
Hello, everyone, and thank you for the question, Sophie. I think that made in Germany is the key word. 53% of the companies carry out the innovation locally. And I think most of the companies, or for most of the companies, it is not only marketing to say that it is made in Germany, it is also necessary to ensure that their business and their know-how stay in their hands, from smaller enterprises until large enterprises. But I agree with Massimo that combine local with international innovation is also key for successful innovation. Tina Carling, Innovation Director at Morgan Stanley Infrastructure and Innovation, says, talent is the big one. Most people think that companies innovate. They don't. People do. So I think there is no way around it to search abroad for innovation, especially for innovative people. From the chart, we see that in Germany are 0% doing their business internationally, compared to Italy with 3%, which is also a very low percentage. It is clear, carry out your innovation locally or both is the most popular answer for innovative companies. But why? among all respondents, in average, logistical challenges because of COVID have shrunk international only innovation from 11% to only 2%, while local innovation is up from 42% to 47%. So we see that COVID is the main driver for local innovation.
Thank you. Robin, Massimo, you both identified the pandemic as one of the main reasons for local innovation. I want to deep dive some specific answers on this topic. We asked our respondents, how has the COVID-19 crisis impacted innovation in your market? Massimo and Robin, what do you think about these answers?
Let me go first, maybe. Well, I think that 2020 has created the perfect opportunity for disruption, and COVID-19 represents a huge accelerator for innovation. As we can see in the slide, IT and telecoms firms, for instance, are most likely to believe that COVID-19 has drastically accelerated innovation in the market because the pandemic has demanded significant digitalization that has been the key to the company's survival in many cases, let me say. We are all experimenting the booming of the e-commerce and setting up systems for working at home. And this is also for the SMEs and not only for large corporations. The increasing demand of digitalization can be read also in the 28% of respondents which work in finance and capital sector that state that the pandemic has drastically accelerated innovation processes. This strong acceleration led to an increased demand for capital to invest exactly in these new digitalization projects and solutions.
Yeah, and I think maybe for Germany, or in my perspective, I think automotive and industrial companies and also the manufacturing and consumer goods are very similar to each other. But why? I think in my opinion, these markets, their COVID did not have this big impact of change because it was not necessary to completely rethink the business. I think this is different in other markets, like Massimo said, especially the IT market, for example, built up new businesses. We had to deal with social distance, and we had to work and communicate without seeing each other. All these new topics of digitalization like IoT, VR, AI, or blockchain became more and more concrete and with concrete business models. And yeah, also we have an innovation hotspot, of course, with the sector with the least confidence in its innovative capacities is now the health and pharmaceuticals, despite dramatic breakthroughs in vaccine development. So yeah, that's my perspective.
Okay, thank you, Robin. I want to focus now on R&D financing methods. We asked our respondents what types of funding they use to support R&D projects. As expected, most innovation remains self-funded. Half of our respondents financed the innovation this way. But I would like you, Massimo and Robin, to analyze more in detail your country's answers. Massimo, what about the Italian landscape?
Okay, well, as mentioned earlier, it's not surprising to me that most of the innovation remains self-funded in Italy, almost 40%. Companies here tend to use national and regional grants as a preferred R&D financing method. And actually, this is something that I would say is in line with the measures deployed by the Italian government, who is improving and increasing national and regional grants as a way to encourage the relaunching of our investments. These grants are mainly addressed to innovation projects and green transition in accordance with the Next Generation EU program and our National Recovery Plan guidelines. And on the contrary, I would say I think that Italian companies are sometimes missing opportunities. For me, few of them, they are underestimating the tax credit that nowadays can be referred to R&D activities, but also to CapEx investment, always related to innovation activities that can generate important saving.
Thank you. And what about you, Robin?
What's surprising me every time is the following. On average, all over the world, every second company uses grants, if it is the R&D tax credit or other financial opportunities. For example, the R&D tax credit in Germany is used by 25%. That's every fourth company. what about the other 75%? I think one reason could be that it is a new instrument since 2020 in Germany. And I think the second reason, in my opinion, is that most of the enterprises know fundings and grants as a very bureaucratic, especially in Germany, and less practical. Fundings have a bad image, and I think we have to change that. The R&D tax credit has to be understood and promoted to the companies. I think that's our job, to make it more interesting for these enterprises.
Thank you, Massimo and Robin. We can say that R&D tax credits is one of the preferred R&D financing methods. I want to focus now on the local scheme analyzed in the R&D benchmark. Massimo, what is it?
Okay, the R&D benchmark is a document drafted by our consultants in which we can easily compare the R&D tax credit scheme in more than 20 countries worldwide. We use two simple metrics of comparison: the generosity and the ease of application to receive saving from this measure. And if we have a look at the lollipop graph, okay, that is coming. Yeah, you have the two representation of this indicator. We combine the percentage of generosity, that means how much money you can recover basically with the R&D tax credit, with the ease of application, which is indicated with the red, amber, and green colors. And with this document, basically, I mean, this document is specifically designed for international companies to help them understanding in which country is more profitable carrying out R&D projects and investment in terms of public incentive. But at the same time, it is also useful for smaller companies that are considering to invest abroad. In fact, to me, the R&D benchmark can be used as a guide to identify the most suitable country for carrying out R&D projects in general.
Thank you, Massimo, for explaining us the importance and the purpose of the International R&D benchmark. Now we want to jump into your local R&D tax credit scheme. Let's start with Germany. So, Robin, please give us an overview of the local tax credit.
Yes, of course, Sophie. Thank you for the question. And let me give you a quick overview of the German R&D tax credit scheme. So you can see that every taxable company, independent from its size, is eligible to apply. And what is also new in Germany, especially for the Forschungszulage, the German word here in Germany, we have a retrospective claim back to the start of 2020. So we can look in the past and can have a look about your innovative activities. And yeah, what is it all about? All the eligible costs are only the staff costs plus the contract research for R&D. So we see that fundable is that 25% for the internal eligible costs and also 15% for the external eligible costs. In Germany, we have a maximum of 1 million euro. So if you have costs of 4 million euros in personal stuff, you can get the maximum of 1 million. And in Germany, it is also the process in two steps. So the first step is the technical evaluation at the Bescheinigungsstelle Forschungszulage. We love this long words here in Germany. And also we have the second step, the final financial claim at the local tax authority. And yeah, if the claim will be deducted from the corporate income tax credit, then you get your cash if exceeding. And yeah, maybe I can say something to the history of the R&D tax credit. The young history, yeah, it nearly took 10 months until the first step of the application process was functional. And for the second step, the local tax officials are still in the process of training by the Bescheinigungsstelle. And yes, our guess is that it probably take at least 1 more year before everything is on the right track. So like in every country, when starting a new program, especially the R&D tax credit scheme, the involved authorities, in Germany, involvement of 3 ministries, communicated, yes, everything is easy and we have created a new, easy and unbureaucratic instrument for all companies. But in fact, typically German, it is still quite bureaucratic with a lot of steps. Starting with a complex registration process. And another example is that they ask for information about all associated companies, international and German, and if this has no relevance for the claim. So recently we had a case with one of our clients who has 80 associated companies abroad, and all 80 companies had to be listed in the application. And the grantor body as well as the ministry is aware that they ask too much. They are open to integrate feedback and even to adapt and make it easier for the applicant. But as you can imagine, this takes time. And regarding the fact that the new R&D tax credit scheme in Germany was in effect as of 2020, and of course, projects didn't always start in January of that year, it is quite tricky for companies to find out a clear cut between the fiscal year of 2019 before the Forschungszulage to 2020 for the R&D tax credit. And to find this cut in order to allow the projects to be eligible is one of the main challenges we see at the moment. And beside this, a lot of companies underestimated their own potential because it is very difficult to see how broad the German tax credit scheme and the interpretation of the criteria can be. In both, we help our clients with the aim to optimize the amount with little effort for the client. I think that is the part of Germany to make it clear. But if you have any questions, please ask me after this webinar.
Thank you, Robin. Massimo, let's now talk about Italy. In 2020, the Italian government made significant changes to the tax credit scheme, right?
I'll try to be fast because I also see our timekeeper checking the clock. Basically, last year, the Italian government enlarged the scope of eligible tax credit projects, also to design, technological innovation, and green transition, in order to boost these activities. And for fiscal year 2021, the company will benefit from an higher rates with a plus 8% for research and innovation projects. But how about, let's say, the tax credit is calculated? First of all, I have to underline that any company can claim for R&D innovation and design tax credit within the same fiscal year. Another significant thing is that lately Italy has switched from an incremental to a volumetric calculation method, enlarging so the perimeter of companies that can claim for this tax credit in 3 equal annual installments. We have the following main kinds of eligible projects, new or improved technological products or process innovation, aesthetic and design improvement to develop a new product, fundamental, industrial, and experimental resource projects. Let me just, let's say, rather than what is eligible for the criteria, I guess that is still quite sensitive. Thank you, Andreas. Just to say that to boost the technological investment, Italian companies can also benefit from the 4.0 tax credit applied on all new 4.0 tangible and intangible asset purchased. The tax credit on tangible asset is worth between 50% to 10% of expensive on maximum investment of 20 million. Company can also claim a tax credit on software used for 4.0 machineries, and they can benefit from 20% tax credit. But these increased rates are only enforced for machineries purchased before this year end. From January 2022, the rates are reduced to the previous one. In Italy, we have actually a third kind of tax credit on 4.0 tangible assets. It is dedicated on companies investing in the south of Italy. It's called bonus mezzogiorno, that can be accumulated with the 4.0 tax credit John mentioned, and is generating a potential saving for SMEs till up to 95% of the value of the investment. Now, at last, I would like just to talk about a practical example. I want to show you, this is a real case study. We are working since the 2017 with an Italian large corporation that is part of a German group. This company is claiming for several tax credit, R&D, technological innovation, 4.0 machineries, and the mezzogiorno that we mentioned, because the firm this year made some investment in the south, specifically in Basilicata. As you can see, this year, the company benefited from almost 1.6 million tax credit. That means overall the 26% of the total investment made for R&D and 4.0 projects. And I guess that especially this measure will be very much significant for Italian and German company dealing with the Italian market. And I guess that I managed to stay in the time being, so 1 minute left. So yeah, to be an Italian, I've been quite effective, let me say. So I will give the ball back to you, Sophie.
Okay, thank you. Next, we have the best practice by Laura of the Feralpi Group.
So thank you very much. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, so I will actually take the point to one very important topic that was mentioned here. So the synergy between innovation and sustainability. This is our path to the innovation and to our sustainability growth. So it was already mentioned that this financing or this important scheme that also the European Union put for the companies in order to overcome the COVID crisis. It's a very powerful point for all the companies and also energy intensive manufacturers. And most of them are dedicated to the ecological transition. And in this ecological transition, innovation and especially digital technology are playing a very important role. That was also underlined to our new elected prime minister in the beginning of this year. So we don't want to have only the currency, we want to leave our next generation also a good planet. And the sustainability journey of Feralpi, the innovation journey of Feralpi started some years ago in very undoubted years, and is also related with the goal to grow with our employee, our community, and our surrounding environment. Also to stay, of course, competitive on the market, because without being competitive on the market will be not sustainable our economical business model. The journey of Feralpi started in the late 60s with a family owner, so family Pasini with Carlo Nicola Pasini and some other related shareholders, and it grew with a specific strategy containing not only the verticalization, the integration of the supply chain in order to be more competitive and to be closer to the customer, but also to internationalize our business, which was also one of the very important topics here in the comparison between Italy and Germany of the consultant that we heard. And one of the important things is that Feralpi is concentrating on the business of the construction, still for the construction industry, but in the latest year, it also invested in specialty steels in order to be more competitive in a more smaller niche of the market. So as you see here, we are present in 6 nations, as already was mentioned by Mr. Züge, and to have an idea of our size, so we are currently producing 2.5 million of tons of steel, and as already was said, we have 1,700 employees in abroad and in Italy, and more than the half of our turnover is also produced abroad. One of our very proud company, and we put most of our strategic commitment is Elbstahlwerke Ferrari in Riesa. Is a site that developed recently, and also it was acquired by Feralpi in the beginning of the 90s, and it had already have a very important steel production tradition, so which was for us very significant, and also very strategic geographical position, not only because of the market, the final product, but also because of raw material. And the commitment in innovation was transferred, of course, in exchange from Feralpi Italy to Germany, and also from Germany to Italy, and it brought to very important innovation achievement. The latest one was also for a very disruptive innovation in order to produce energy at the plant of the German plant, recovering the waste heat from the electric furnace, which was for us also the point to won an important prize, regional prize for innovation. Sustainability is not only a driver of our global strategy, but it's a real driver for our investments. So the next plan, in our business plan, sustainability plays a very important role with 7 important points which are related to the reuse of the material we are also producing as output in our production process, the motivation and the enhancement of our talent, young people, because we want to be attractive, we want to be a durable business model also for the next years, and also to develop a quality which can also meet the customer needs, which is very important in an optic also of the Industry 4.0 and digital technologies, because these technologies are putting producer nearer and next to our customers, also in a company of commodities like we are. And Feralpi started his journey in sustainability already in 2004, which is first voluntary sustainability report, and he continued the road of sustainability with the latest 2 voluntary non-financial disclosure integrated. It commits to the United Nations Global Compact Network, and also it started initiative with suppliers and customers and business partners in order to make business sustainability project more realizable. Concerning financing, which was the main driver of the previous report, or one of the driver that was touched, we have also, of course, trusted financing partners, and they helped us and supported us in the financing sustainability project, especially also in the reduction of emissions, in energy consumption, and in circular economy practices. Talking about the circular economy, which is one of the main ingredients of sustainability development business models, Feralpi already some times ago, so before all the trends of sustainability and circular economy, started a business with some trusted partners in order to recover one of the main output material that is related to the production of steel, the black slag, and which is now regenerating and used in the construction of asphalt and asphalt material. And this was the previous speaker talked about local innovation. That was an example of local innovation because this partner in a range of 30 kilometers, 10 to 30 kilometers, collaborated together in order to recreate a virtuous cycle of sustainable circular economy. One of the important things here, talking about technology, is the last trend of digitization. So digitization didn't start 5 years ago or with the Hannover Messe, of course it did, but also it was previously present in the past and also in the steel industries. The latest trend enabled us to optimize even more better energy and also to make transparency in our business transaction with our partner, and also in the collaboration, not only in the supply chain, but also internally through department. I put here a very summarized list of digital technology because it's one of the latest trends also of financing of the European Union, of the plan, of the national plan of recovery, to see how these technologies are really related to sustainability goals and benefits, not only in the optimization of resources, not only if we think about robots in the safety of the workplace, but in the collaboration, in the supply chain, and of course, if we go beyond also with the topic of cybersecurity in the continuity of our business, reputational, technical, and also economical one. And looking at the time, since I'm also want to be punctual and effective, to summarize here the goals, the purpose, and the trend of the innovation for Feralpi, is the centrality is, of course, not only in the technical development. So we invest in consolidated, but also in new technology, which can enable us to the fulfillment of the goals that we previously underlined, but also the centrality of people. So the strong commitment commitment of the management and the motivation of the people are two basic ingredients in order to have not only a sustainable business model, but to be durable and competitive over time and to be innovative. And that's all from my side. I think 10 minutes was that. I lived in Germany for 10 years, so that I learned how punctuality is very important.
Yes.
Yes, thank you very much. This was really fantastic. So we actually we met the time requirements perfectly, like Robert. You have become a more German personality, I guess, Laura. So if you have any queries, if you have any questions to be asked, you please feel free to use the chat in order to give us some questions you might have. So far, I haven't seen anything. I'm just browsing very shortly. No, there is so far no question. So let me work as an icebreaker. So don't be shy, and maybe that this could provoke some questions from your side. Massimo, in my conversations with many Italian entrepreneurs,
Yes.
there's always criticism of excessive bureaucracy on the part of the public administration. They really detest it sometimes. How much bureaucracy does it take for an Italian company to receive innovation funding, and how can you help them? So how can you be instrumental for those people?
Right. First thing first, let me say welcome to Italy. So our bureaucracy is pretty much world famous, I guess. It's a joke, but it's true. Yeah, let's say dealing with the public administration, public authorities sometimes might be an headache. But as a matter of fact, there are huge opportunity in the Italian market, actually now more than in the past. And this wasn't the subject about this chat, but we can't avoid to mention, let's say, the Recovery Fund and all the opportunities related to the new, let's say, 7 years of European grants that are upcoming. Anyway, how to deal with the bureaucracy? I would say, frankly speaking, that the company can do it, I want to say easily, but they can be safe if they work with experts. Because in the end, to deal with founding or R&D tax means a certain level of different skills that you must have in your team. You must have not only good legals or a good technician, but someone that can deal with both, with expertise on drafting, for instance, the calls for the grant side, or to making, let's say, the right calculation according to the criteria for the R&D tax. So simply, I would say, if you go with an expert, your journey might be much safer. And obviously, I can't avoid to reflect this to our company. This is what we do. This is why we are on the market. This is why we are a profitable company anyway, because we try to, let's say, find best companion in companies who are really interested to invest in innovation, and we help them to make it happen, obviously from what is a fiscal point of view. And, and this is, in a nutshell, let's say, is my answer.
Okay, thank you very much.
Welcome.
I'm very curious, Robin, what's about bureaucracy in Germany? Is it a big burden for German entrepreneurs to get into these financing tools, or how time consuming and labor intensive is innovation promotion for companies there? Is it the same as in Italy?
Yeah, I think, thank you for your question, Andreas. I think it is very similar as Massimo said. I think the technical documentation is difficult. Often we see that companies not applying for this funding program because of its documentation, and they are afraid of not having enough documentation. But of course, you're not starting from zero. So that's where we can help and where we can support. So we support here with our technical experts. We have engineers, we have software engineers, experts with a chemical background, with a biological background, depends on the company, of course. And with this documentation, you are unsure that of the end of the process, the control by the tax authority don't changes your amount of money you will get from the Forschungszulage. So that's the one part. I think the technical documentation, and where we can support also is to sum up your project. Often we see that you have a project for more than 1 year, and it's a very big project, and it's difficult to sum it up and on 1.5 page. So you have only 1.5 page to apply for this funding. So there we can support also. So yeah, it is very bureaucratic, but we see a dynamic in there. We see much changes in this funding program, but working with us, for example, with an expert, it can ensure that you will get this funding program. Yeah.
Okay, thank you, Robin. So the audience which might be interested in getting these funds and getting better support for having fiscal opportunities, please refer to the Ayming website, where you can grasp even the study you presented today, just letting your name and your company details there. Yeah, last but not least, so I haven't seen any other questions so far. Laura, what innovation does Feralpi use to implement its vision of zero impact perfection? Do you have a special project you would like to stress?
So perfection is a goal, of course, but perfection is a very, very striving goal. So what we aim is from the origin. So as I try to underline in a nutshell, so to make sustainability a competitive business model, it can be, and also an economical business models, not only environmental or social. Of course, the keyword is not only technical development, but collaboration. So we implemented the very best technology available with consolidated partner, which are of course international partner, which are set on the very top level of technologies, but also we try to give space for experimental innovation, which is not a very, which sometimes is a difficult task because it's an entrepreneurial character and you don't have any guarantee of the success. And to strive, if I understood correctly, so digital technologies, of course, are important for us, are important for the achievement of some of our basic and main aims, which are also related to sustainability, like energy or like circular economy.
So thank you very much, Laura, for giving us some details. So I haven't seen any question, but if you have a look on the chat room, there are some links where you can actually click to and getting the different studies, the different information from Ayming. And of course, you shouldn't need even to go to the Feralpi website as well. If you have any queries which come up later, just let us know, send us an email or contact the team of ITKAM. And if there is nothing else to say, I really, really thank you very much, Massimo, Robin, Laura, and Sophie, for this very, very interesting insights of your companies. And anyhow, very, very much un ringraziamento, a warm thankful to the ITKAM team. You are always, as always, fabulous, and you are experts on doing really, really, really good events. So thank you very much for joining us, and please do not hesitate. If you have questions, just give us a click. So thank you very much. Good evening. Buonasera. Guten Abend.
Thank you very much. Buonasera. Good evening.
Bye. Good evening.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.